This painting made people uncomfortable, not because it was violent or political or scandalous, but because it felt too real, like you'd just walked into someone's home without knocking. In 19th century Paris, that kind of intimacy, especially with another man, a working class man, was not something you were supposed to see. And the crazy part is, it's not the nudity that was out of place. Nudity was common in art at the time. It's that nudity was supposed to be reserved for heroes, gods, goddesses, or local female models, not the man who just helped paint your kitchen or scrape your floor. And yet, here it is. Calm, quiet, beautiful, and shockingly human. It's also full of secrets that I'll reveal to you in this video. The artist behind this is Gustave Caillebotte, and he's an interesting figure in the Impressionist world, because unlike Monet or Renoir, he wasn't struggling financially. He came from serious wealth, which meant he didn't have to paint what sold. He could paint what fascinated him. And what fascinated Caillebotte were men. Men at work, men in the street, men in private spaces. He painted floor scrapers on their hands and knees, rowers straining against the river, his own brother standing alone at a window, staring out at the city. His paintings aren't about glamour, they're more about physical presence and what it feels like to exist in a body in modern Paris. Man at His Bath was painted in the early 1880s, at a time when Paris was changing rapidly. There were new apartment buildings everywhere with new plumbing and new ideas about privacy and about domestic life. This is an era when the middle class is growing, but working class life is still incredibly physical. Long hours and manual labor. Most men at the time didn't have proper bathtubs. They washed using basins like this, in small, rented rooms. So this isn't just a nude. It's a modern nude, a body shaped by labor, living in a cramped urban interior, dealing with exhaustion and routine. And that grounded realism is exactly what made it unsettling. There's also something complicated here about power. Caillebotte was wealthy. Many of the men he painted were likely laborers, possibly even people who worked for him. So yes, there's an imbalance. He's the wealthy observer. They're the working class subjects. But what's fascinating is that he doesn't use that position to turn these men into stereotypes, or symbols of poverty, or background scenery. He gives them weight, dignity, individual presence. The man isn't anonymous labor anymore. He's a person having a private moment after a long day. And Caillebotte paints him not as an object, but as someone who deserves to be seen with the same seriousness as any mythological hero. That's revolutionary in art. Some art historians have also pointed out that Caillebotte's paintings often carry an unusual emotional closeness between men. Not romantic scenes, not even flirtation, but quiet observation, proximity, and stillness. And interestingly, we know very little about Caillebotte's romantic life. He never married, and there are no long-term relationships. What we do see over and over again in his work is solitude. His brother standing at a window, separated completely from the street below, from the world outside. Men absorbed in their own thoughts. Bodies present, but emotional distance. So when we look at Man at His Bath, it's hard not to feel that this intimacy comes from longing as much as observation. Not desire in a dramatic sense, but a deep attentiveness to male presence, to male form, to the male experience. And most importantly, which is why many people feel like this painting went too far, to vulnerability, male vulnerability, to the moments most people never get to witness, and that some would argue that we shouldn't. What I love most about this painting is how noble this man feels, precisely because he's ordinary. His back isn't sculpted like a statue, his posture isn't heroic. His body tells the story of work, fatigue, and routine, and so do all the other elements of the painting. Yet Caillebotte paints him with the same care that artists once reserved for gods, for those glorious Greek statues at the Parthenon. This is what modern dignity looks like, he's saying. It's not necessarily triumph and victory in war, but endurance in a difficult world. It quietly suggests that beauty doesn't belong only to fantasy, but to everyday people and to everyday survival. What I find also very telling is that when Caillebotte does paint female nudes, he doesn't treat them the same way at all. They are not idealized and they are not polished to perfection. They do not look like the typical female nude painted by a heterosexual painter. His women are fleshy, awkward, very human, caught in real rooms, not in dreamlike spaces. It's not about the display. Again, it's about the presence. That presence is what makes this painting feel less like voyeurism and more like quiet respect and admiration. Today, this breathtaking masterpiece hangs in the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. But if you'd like to own it for your own home, to put it in your bathroom, in your bedroom, or in your home art gallery, you can purchase it by clicking on the link in the description. It'll take you to my art store, where I have hand-selected the masterpieces of the world that changed art forever, including other magnificent paintings of the male body. Shipping is always free if you buy from my store, and every purchase helps to support the creation of more well-researched, personal videos just like this. I think this painting still feels so powerful today because it asks a really simple question. Who are we allowed to look at seriously? Who are we allowed to have intimacy with? Who gets to be studied? Who gets to be remembered? And what kind of people can be treated as meaningful? Do we only gaze at heroes? Do we only admire stars, celebrities, business moguls? Or can we find beauty in the man who scraped our floor, who helped us with our plumbing, who did our gardening, who took out the trash? For most of history, working class people, especially working class men, were invisible. In some ways, they still are. And Caillebotte does something radical here in this painting. He says that this life matters, that this body matters, and even this moment matters. We may not be fully comfortable seeing men this way, but maybe we should be. Thanks for watching all the way to the end, and I'll see you in the comment section and in the next video.